And knowing my dream was about Darren and his dad putting posters up all over town saying how much of a loser I was. So I was good when I arrived at school the next day in my Barry massive robot Barry costume, and everyone thought an enormous robot had come to kill them. I think it's eaten Barry, Punky was shouting because I hadn't walked to school with him because of our row. I threw my rucksack out of my mouth, a bit of the costume, and I did a massive fake bub, and Monkey fell to his knees, holding the bag up to the sky, crying, "Barry, no!" "It's to Endington's," screamed Charnella, pushing Tracy Pilchard and Donatella over and running off with her hands waving. "Everybody panic!" crackled Mr. Hodgepodge's voice over the school speakers, and I saw him run over to his car and drive off at full speed, his tie caught on the door all waggling. Just as I was beginning to worry that it was maybe getting a bit out of hand, down a fisky, horrible little crocodile voice shouted over everything, "Ladies and gentlemen, that robot, you are all going blows about it, actually. Just Barry loser inside a cardboard box. Stop being such subjects and go back to your normal rubbish lives." I was pretty boring, having to be inside the cardboard box for the rest of the day, which was my push march from Mr. Hodgepodge once the police had found him hiding in his attic and explained everything. "You're a naughty loser," Darren burped into one of my air holes, and the word loser echoed around the box about 7 million times until I realized I was stuck with my name, so I might as well stop trying to be someone else. So when I woke up with my mum shouting breakfast Snooky Flumps on Saturday morning, I was back to being a loser again. Monkey was already sitting on the sofa in our living room when I came downstairs. I'm used to because he spends more time at my house than at his. "Ah, Bunky, how uncle to see you," I said in full future boy mode. "Morning, Snooky Flumps," he chuckled to himself while watching TV and eating breakfast like he was me. I gave my mum one of my evil stares that I've been practicing in the mirror for down a fisky and stormed out of the house with the Bunky behind. I told her not to call me that anymore, I said on the way to the hairdresser's. "Call you what?" Monkey said, looking at me like he didn't know what I was talking about, which didn't surprise me because he hardly ever remembers anything for more than 2 milliseconds. It was my first ever trip to the hairdresser's. My mum usually cuts my hair, but last time she tried, we had a row about how she wasn't doing it right, so she'd booked me, Bunky, and Granny Harpenduck into Harry's on the high street with one of her 3 for the price of 2 coupons. On the way to pick up Granny, we walked past Mrs. Trumpet Face Flat. She was shouting at her kid about something, and Bunky pressed his nose against the window until she saw him and screamed, and we ran off giggling and blowing off. Do we have to go with Granny Harpenlosser? She's so boring, Bunky said. Shh, I whispered, because I didn't want Granny to hear, even though we were about 8 streets away and she's completely deaf. Granny lives in the most boring road in the whole wide world, Amen. I've never seen anyone down it, apart from his old granddad, who stands outside number 27 all day, feeding the birds mildly bread. Our house looks like everyone else's, and I am never sure if I've got the right one until I press the doorbell and it plays a tune. Then you hear her humming as she walks from the living room at about 1 mile an hour. Hello, the cool boys, said Granny through the letterbox. Hi, Granny. How is your keyless level? I said, holding up my hand to her to give me a high five. Oh, not so bad now. I've just got to switch everything off and get my bits, she said, then started walking all the way back to the living room. On keyless factor 9, said Bunky into his watch, which is what future rat boy does when he wants to be beamed out of somewhere. We played all the songs on Granny's doorbell while we were waiting until the old granddad at 27 shouted for us to shut up. The walk to the hairdressers took ages as well, because we bumped into Granny's friend Ethel on the way, and they had to have a 3-hour natter about the state of the payments on the high street. Some other Granny called Doreen had tripped over one last week, and her 4 teeth had fallen down the drain. Pop them back on the spot, said Ethel. The feet were so too fat for her sandals. That's our Doreen, said Johnny, and I imagined Doreen walking down to the shops with bits of old leaves hanging out of her teeth. We were late by the time we got to Harry's, and before I could say, "Don't cut my earlobes off," we were in our chairs. Bunky and Harry started chatting straight away, even though it was my hair. Harry was cutting the Granny had stuck her head in a perming machine, so I felt a bit lost sitting there with no one to talk to. Have you noticed how our names rhyme? I said to Harry, trying to make him like me, but he just did a fake laugh and carried on talking to Bunky. Do you remember when we completely ruined Mrs. Trumpet Face Day? I said to Bunky, trying to stop him talking to Harry, but he just looked at me like I was a loser and carried on talking to Harry. I gave up trying after that and stared at myself in the mirror with my back to front superhero cape that they'd put round my neck, imagining I was future rat boy. There's a bit in every future rat boy episode when he takes his mask off and shows his hair to a baddie. He always says Operation Reveal and Kill before he does it, and the baddies are so impressed by how shiny and bouncy his hair is that they forgot what they're doing and he lassos them with his tail. When I woke up, not that I'd been asleep, I realized Harry had turned me sideways to do the bits around my ears, and I was facing out of the shop like I was a can of hairspray for sale in the window or something.